Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us today. This is actually a very special occasion. We're going to have a conversation all around the release of day one of the new album, The Land I'm Livin In. And because this album is over 2 hours of music, even though this is just the third, day one of day three, it is about an hour's worth of music and video, which some of you guys may have already watched or listened to. And for others of you, you're just finding out about it right now. I'm really excited to sit with you both and hear more of the heartbeat behind these songs, some of the stories behind the album itself. And we're actually going to watch some video clips from the album today together with you. So that's really exciting.
So fun.
The first question I had is just, I think people would be interested to hear a little more about the space. Like, what is this space?
Okay.
Did you ever think that we would be having this conversation about this room?
Yeah, it's good. This is our art barn. That's what we affectionately call it. We've had it since
This is our fourth school, I think.
Our fourth school. It's the biggest space we have on the farm, which has been a huge gift. Half of the year, it is exactly what it looks like right now. It's set up for video and design and photography. We meet in here as a small community. And then half the year, we set it up for schools. And so we do a lot of our worship nights, our teaching, everything in this space.
Come on.
So it's a very multi-purpose. It gets changed a lot.
And our art class is happening here.
And our art class.
That's where the art barn's from,
Our art class. And eventually it will just be, the creative kind of hub. But when we invited the Creek guys, which would be David, Brad, and Seth down.
The producers for the album.
We invited them here almost this time last year to come and just connect and talk through what we were dreaming into and to see if they were the ones that wanted to get on board with it. And we walked them around the whole farm, and when we walked into this space, we were like, this is the room we're thinking that we would do it in if we do it here.
We just weren't sure if you could.
I think the room isn't built for acoustics. It's not wood floors, it's cement floors. It's not wood ceiling.
Hard surfaces.
It's a lot. It's metal ceilings, and while it's beautiful, it wasn't created to record music in by any stretch of the imagination. Or a whole album. And so when we walked in, we were like, this is what we were thinking, and they were just instantly like,
you have to do it.
You have to do it here.
This is the place.
And I think they really felt the heartbeat. It was so good for them to see the whole farm and just to walk and meet people and walk in all of our different studios.
Catch the vision.
Catch the vision of it. And we played them some moments from the school that we had captured on our very, very small recording little system. And they were just like, man, this is really amazing.
Wow.
Like, this is really who you guys are. And so we were really grateful. That they were willing to take on the challenge, because it is a very challenging room. And right now we only have a couple of the sound panels, but it was covered in panels just to treat it so that we could record in it without it being cuckoo in here. But the cool thing about the ones in the back is Justina, who's our creative director. We've been tracking with her since she was a teenager, over 20 years. We've known her. She did our first 18-inch journey, and now she's the creative director of really the Cageless Birds in the school. And so we thought it would be really beautiful, instead of just putting up sound panels everywhere, to actually make them ourselves. Her husband made them, and to cover them in raw canvas, and then for her to actually paint them. And they're beautiful, rich, powdered ink. And it was pretty awesome to just watch her do it. It just felt like our whole team was pouring their heart and soul into it. And so the walls were covered in original paintings that were also sound panels.
Acoustic.
That's right.
That's amazing.
So we had a lot more up, but we've taken them down since then. So really amazing to just look around and feel the creativity of our whole team and how we were all really invested.
Come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Come on. So day one is out, and all of it was actually recorded right here in this room. All of it was filmed right here in this room. And you dive right in with track one. So first off, what are the first tracks that have released off the album?
So I'm Your Beloved, which is this 23
minute experience.
I don't know why we
yeah.
chose the longest one to release first.
Because it's awesome. It sets the tone for the album,
Yeah, it's
and
true.
the intro is
It's true.
so beautiful. And if you're on the old Spotify's or something, you can actually click over to the next spontaneous
Yes.
track, which is called "Running Home."
Yes.
But on YouTube, you can just watch the full moment.
Yeah.
And then that goes to "I Lose My Ability," "We Make Space," and this day one closes with "Father of Jesus." Yeah.
Does it feel wild to actually have some of these songs out?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we've been carrying it for so long.
Yes.
Especially because we recorded it and tracked it in the end of May.
Yeah.
So we've definitely been sitting with the music for a really long time. So it's fun to actually, the feeling of that people are starting to actually listen to
Yes.
parts of it and
Yes.
experience it and have their own moments with the Lord, which is why you
Yeah.
record music,
That's right.
is very, very exciting.
Come on. Well, there's so much that we could say about the entire album.
Yeah.
I love that you've chosen to, well, you recorded it over 3 days, but you've also chosen to release it over time.
Yeah.
And it's releasing over the span of 3
right.
months.
Yeah.
What is some of the reason that you've chosen to break it up like that?
Yeah. I think more than anything, we really wanted to honor the listener. There's a lot of content being put out right now, and we really wanted to just honor capacity.
Yeah.
And we took a long time to make this album. And when we decided to record it over 3 days, that was really for patience, peace. We didn't want to rush in and put a lot of pressure on one night. We wanted to spread it out.
Oh,
Let's
man.
just do 3 or 4 songs a night. Then we have plenty of time to wait on the Lord, to chase after moments if they happen. And we're not feeling a ton of anxiety to get it all done in one
Yeah,
night, which was
that's
a
right.
really good decision for us. I mean, we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
We're not trying to plow through stuff right now. We really, more than anything, want to take our time. And so as we were doing the
Beautiful.
3-day kind of recording process, that was when I just started thinking man, we could actually release it in 3 days and we could spread it out and we could actually break it up. And then as we got deeper into the days and the songs are going longer and longer and I'm like, there's no way we're going to cut out all this amazing stuff. And the moments even where the musicians were just playing and we were giving an offering to the Lord, I'm there's no way we're going to cut this stuff out. And so we just talked more and more this might be a cool thing. So now that we're here, we're just I'm really grateful for just when God intervenes in strategy. It's so helpful. And we really wanted to spread it out and give you, the listener, time to sit with 54 minutes or something over 3 weeks and actually just take in the videos one at a time. And then 3 weeks later, we're going to give you another chunk that's a little shorter, and then we're going to give you another chunk. And so the heart behind it was really to honor the person that's receiving it.
Come on.
And to honor the work that we put into it.
Yeah, come on. We've talked about the length of the opener, but we are going to take some time today to actually pull up some video clips that you guys have chosen.
Yep.
And some folks will be able to watch this for the first time. We're going to dive in. But I love that you're already talking about the heart.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to the heart behind the first track, I Am Your Beloved.
Yeah.
And then from there, we could go in and watch a clip and then maybe hear some stories.
Yeah. With I'm Your Beloved being filmed in this room and captured in this room makes it extra special. Because if we could pick one of the songs to be an anthem for what the 18-inch journey is, it would be I'm Your Beloved.
Come on.
Because it's so much of what this school is. It's a journey into identity. Discovering who the Father is and then discovering that who we are as his sons and daughters. And to sing it in this room, and then we filled the room with alumni. So we had all 14 years represented. Not all the alumni that have ever been to the school, but we hand chose 14 years of the school that were in the room.
It's amazing.
And they've all had moments in this room. They have a story with Jesus on this land where he walked through their walls, stepped into their story and changed them. And they had moments where literally they've stood in chairs on this room declaring, this is who the Father says I am.
Come on.
So to have all their voices singing, I am your beloved, I'm the one the Father loves. it has so much weight on it.
Yeah.
And then just this song has been, anytime we go to make an album, we're just like, God, speak.
Yeah.
Oswald Chambers says, when we pray the prayer of Samuel, speak, Lord, your servant's listening, our life becomes a romance. And so we're always asking, God, speak.
That's
we
good.
want your voice. Like, we want to know along the way that, like, you are with us and that you're leading this and that you're the captain of this beautiful train.
Come on.
And with I'm Your Beloved, we just had all these God moments along the way. We literally probably could do the whole podcast just on that one. But one of my favorite moments with I'm Your Beloved, the Creek guys from Nashville came out, David, Brad, and Seth, and they came out here, and we're like, we haven't met these guys. We're wondering, is this the right crew to capture this album?
Yeah.
Because there's so much trust to have someone produce an
Very
album.
much like a first date.
Yeah. So we're,
It's like, this could go really good, or this could
except
not.
they drove 8 hours for their
Except
first
they
date.
drove a really, they stayed the night, and it was like 2.5 days.
And but to make a long story short, we began our first date at a table, and we're having breakfast with them, and I think we sat at the table for like 4 hours, and they just wanted to hear our hearts, which first of all, just like that's what we want the most from a producer.
Yeah.
And
Special.
we get towards halfway through the meal. And David Leonard says to us, he said, I just want to tell you guys a story. Before I met you, your music had been really speaking to my life. And he shared the story that he was making a cross-country drive from California back to Nashville. And he had saved our album, Beautiful Surrender, for this cross-country trip that he was going to make. And he was just in a real soul-searching part of his life. And as he's making this drive across the country, he's driving through the desert somewhere, Arizona, I think.
The Mojave Desert?
Yeah, the Mojave Desert.
Ooh.
And he said it was in the middle of nowhere, pitch black. And he's like, this is like a picture of how I feel right now. Just like, where are you, Lord? Like I'm in the middle of the wilderness, in the middle of the desert. And our track, Outrageous Love, came on. How beautiful, how glorious. And as this track is playing, he sees what he thinks is a city in the distance. He sees this bright light coming up over the horizon. And all of a sudden he realizes it's not a city, it's this full moon, but it's this massive full moon. And he said it was like God turned on a flashlight and said, David, I see you. David, I see you. And he's like, and your music was the soundtrack for this defining moment I had with the Lord. So we're sitting at the table just feeling so much honor that our music's already impacted him.
Yeah.
So we take the day, we show them this building, we tour the land, and we're getting towards the end of the day. And we're like, do you guys want to hear some of the songs? Like, they're like, please play us one. And the first song we play is I'm Your Beloved. We're sitting in our living room right up the hill from here. And I'm sitting by the window facing out, and David and the guys are sitting on a couch looking out the window, and I'm playing I'm Your Beloved. I get to the end of I'm Your Beloved, and you can just feel the weight of God's presence in the room. It's just me and the guitar, I'm playing, and we get to the end of the song, and I look across the room at David, and it's like he's seen a ghost. Like he's just like, and he just lifts his hand, and he points out the window, he's like, look out the window. I'm like, what? I look out the window, and there's this massive full moon rising up over our deck. I've never seen a full moon rise over our deck like this.
I've never, in that spot, it was very, very strange.
And we're just like, yes, Lord, you're speaking. And David's name.
We live for those moments.
Oh, we live for those moments.
I mean, that's what we were waiting for. Just these God moments where he just interjects and he's like, you're on the right path, keep walking.
Yeah.
That was totally
And
that.
David's name means the beloved.
That's right.
And the week we record the album here on the land was in May. There was like this crazy weird full moon.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was even called.
It was like a super moon.
It was
or
a
something.
super moon,
It was
yes.
the year of super moons.
Yeah, the night we record, the supermoon's here like 5 months later, you know. More than just these guys being our producer, like they became dear friends to us. David's playing the organ. You'll see it. He's right there at the beginning of the video. He's playing an organ, and he just carried this album with such tenderness and sensitivity and strength, and helped us really birth this record.
Yeah.
So,
and he gave a lot of space. I think he
Wow.
pressed in and then stepped back, and then that's a real dance when you're, doing a live album especially. And I think he really honored the moments. Even that moment, like the full moon was rising, and then he just got up, walked over to the piano, and just started playing it again.
Wow.
And Jonathan, they sang through the entire song again.
Wow, that's a moment.
And it was like the whole house filled. It just felt really like tangible honor. And I think that's when you're choosing a producer, that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
It's that tangible honor. Like, are they going to give into like what God is doing in the moment?
And do they see my heart?
Yeah.
Like, does the producer see my heart? Because sometimes the songs start with a lot of rubble. I mean, it's like, I think, it's like that marble. Like, do you see the angel inside this marble?
Wow.
And like, they're able to see it and draw out what the songs were.
Yeah.
And this one specifically, I'm Your Beloved. That would be my dream for the song.
Yeah.
Is that people would have a moment like David had, like where they feel like the flashlight of God's eyes just turn on and say, I see you.
Yeah.
You are my beloved. There's nothing you can do to make me love you more or less. I choose you.
Yeah.
I've called you by name. Like just those moments where he sees us.
So good.
Wow. What a beautiful way to kick off the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I'd love to dive into a video moment
Great.
from that
Come
song
on.
that we can actually play.
Yes. This is so fun to
And,
do this.
This happens later in the song. We'll watch it, and then I'm sure you guys will have some context.
Yep.
Just because there's some really sweet moments all throughout the song.
I can hear the feet of the Father running. I can hear the feet of the Father running. I can hear the feet of the Father running. I can hear the feet of the Father running. It's like a stampede of grace coming my way. Mercy I never earned, grace I never deserved, coming to bring me home again. I can hear the Father calling my name. I can see the face of my Father. I can hear the voice of my Father calling out my
Every time. Chills every time.
My first question is, what is that wonderful, strange stringed instrument with all of the strings, and who's playing it?
Yeah, so that's a hammered dulcimer.
Okay.
You play it with those two little hammers, and it's actually in the scripture that it's a very old instrument.
Wow.
It's in the book of Daniel, but that is a beloved friend, JP, who is one of our 18-inch Journey alumni.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, playing the hammered dulcimer there. So,
Wow.
and it's been an instrument that's been a part of a lot of our albums.
Yeah.
So to have it back on this album, it was on The
Yeah.
Awakening. First track of The
I was
Awakening,
gonna
Likeness
say,
of Jesus.
If you go all the way back,
Yeah.
it's right in the beginnings of our recordings.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was going on in your heart during that moment? Do you remember?
Yeah. The song opens with the line, I've heard the accusation, I've heard the propaganda, I've heard the lies they've whispered to my soul. And so much of my journey has been learning to hear the voice of the Father and have his voice replace that voice of the inner critic and those lies that have all been whispered to all of us, but that come to steal and rob our identity and our inheritance. And in that moment, we just left a space. Like we had just landed the body of the song, and we left a space. I didn't know JP was going to play that melody. JP starts playing that melody, so that starts tugging on deep heartstrings. And I have several songs there's a song, You're Never Giving Up, and it's about the Father running to meet us. We added a bridge to Abba, and it's about the Father running down our prodigal road. But I just can't get away from the Luke 15 picture that Jesus is, this is what God's actually like. And one of the things about that story that I love is in the Jewish culture, if a son would have done what this son did, like leaving and going and living the way he lived and wasting his inheritance like that, if he ever tried to come home, one of the traditions of the Jewish culture was they would run out, and the town would run out, and they would bring him before the town and publicly shame him and say, we'll always remember him because of his past and what he's done. And they would publicly accuse him. And you would have grown up hearing this story. If you ever leave and do something like this, we will shame you for your mistakes in your past. So the Father running changes everything, because he's outrunning all the accusation. He's clothing his son, so when his son comes home, they just see the ring and the robe. Everything he lost, they just see his future. They don't see his past.
Wow.
And so in that moment for me, I'm just thinking about how many moments I've had where the Father ran down my prodigal road.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing the students. And I know so many of the stories. Like when we're looking around the room, it's not a crowd we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're looking at stories that we fought for, stories that we've been a part of.
Names, faces.
Names that I've seen the Father run down their road and change their story.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, and you're not just seeing like, you're not seeing students and seeing moments. You're seeing like spans of time,
Right.
months and years of walking with people, like
A decade for some of them.
A decade for some of them, like
Jake, our
it-
guitar player. I mean, he came here when he was
Right.
17. He's been
and
here
he's
over a
17
decade.
years old. Like even JP, there's history, there's time there. So I think it is a different weight. And
Yeah.
I think even at the end of that song, that's like just the first billow, and then it came down, and then it went again, and then it came down, and at the very end of it, like, I was just so overcome by the mercy of God, and just that He always comes.
Yeah.
And I think even just looking around the room, like Jonathan had just poured out every ounce of his father heart and pastoral heart and leader heart, and I was just looking around like, man, like, God, you are the one that always comes. Like you do always meet us, and when when you meet us on that road, there is no anger in your eyes. Like you are there to clothe us in mercy and redemption. And so, I mean, it really couldn't have been a better offering to start the project with than this one. I mean, just the totality of it is so true. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I was going to ask you about the moment, because there's a moment 18 minutes Which I think is so beautiful too, because it carries, I'm hearing the story of the heartbeat of the 18-inch journey, the distance from your head to your heart, is in this song. It's the lead off track. It's long, but within it is like a journey in and of itself. Right. And about 18 minutes into this song, which the listeners will know, you have a really beautiful moment. And I think what you just referenced, and that line really, there, I wrote it down, even, there's no anger in your eyes. Like, so, but I hear both of you even like in testimony, like carrying a generation back to the true image of who the Father is. And I feel the risk in that. I'd love even, Melissa, to just hear you speak to that place of spontaneity in worship and leaving space. Because there's, Jonathan explores the space with the band and you're there in it. Right. And then we're almost 20 minutes into the song and then you explore a space and carry something. And there's even emotion in the song that is really powerful, especially for it to be the opening track of a very big album.
I thought a lot through if I was going to leave that on the album or not, because it is tender and really vulnerable for me. And I think spontaneity in worship has lots of different things. I think sometimes it's the musicians that are taking us into a moment musically where the presence of God is taking over a space. I think sometimes where we start singing something and everyone joins in and it's just like this like literal high praise moment that's happening in the moment. And there's nothing like it, you know? And I think then there's moments where we are making an offering to the Lord. And I think that moment, and I think this album is different for me, where previous albums definitely carry more of my personal journey with the Lord. Catch the Wind, Beautiful Jesus, Strength. Like those were all really deep things that I wrote about my walk with the Lord. And this album carries a lot more of like who I am as a pastor and a leader. And what I've given 20 years of my life to. The 95% of my life is spent doing leadership. And I think that moment at the end of I'm Your Beloved is like the culmination of my heart. And I think of my mother heart, of my pastor heart, of my leader heart. It's the like, we just can't outrun your love. Like, and I think no matter how far we get down this discipleship road, and you know that because you lead the schools with us, like, and we have tools and all these amazing things we're pioneering, we really keep coming back to like Jesus, the Father, the Holy Spirit. And like, if we ever lose the simplicity of Father God running down our road and that we can't actually outrun the love of God, we've completely missed it, you know? And I think when we listen back to that track, I had actually forgot, it was so much music, I had forgotten about it. And I listened to it the first time with David when we went back in Brad to the studio, and I was just sitting there and I was like, whoa, this is really deep. This is like really deep. And I was like starting to just tear up even in that moment of hearing it back and like, okay, do I want to give this away? Like this is really sacred. And I think where I landed was that I am ready for the world to hear this part of who I am. And it's the truest part of who I am, you know, and anyone who walks with me daily would understand that. Like this is the truest part of what I've given my life to, is loving a generation and reminding them of the mercy of God, the redemption of God, that there is no anger in God's eyes, and that he comes at us with mercy and redemption. And he doesn't run out of that. You know, Come on. Yeah, it's a tender moment. I have actually listened to it a couple of times, because if I keep listening to it, I'll overthink it. I'll be like, oh, it's too vulnerable, it's too tender. Like, do I really want to? And I'm like, no, I do actually want. I don't want to overthink it.
Come on.
Like that's the offering I made, and I never would have gone there if those people wouldn't have been in the room, because they were students, and we've all journeyed done that journey together of reminding. I could look around me and be like, I reminded you, I've reminded you, I've reminded you. Like, it was just like, this is what I'm saying right now. And the emotion is because I believe it.
Yeah.
And the mercy of God, like if we ever leave that beautiful, beautiful redemption story, we've lost the gospel, you know, so.
Wow.
But it's tender. It's very tender.
That could be the album. That song could just be the album. We could say, what a great episode. But I do just want to honor you both for your vulnerability and to put that on there. I hear your heart's cry, not only for those you've led, but for those you'll never lead. That the Lord has entrusted you with.
That's right.
The place where you have that authority. And He's honoring it.
Yeah. And to not feel the need to package it tight and cut out all of the emotion. Like, I'm like, you know, we've been, as a global church, we've been through a lot in the last couple of years. And I think if what we're craving more than anything is, can we speak the truth in love? Like, can we be honest and go there, but not lose the love of Jesus in the process of that honesty, but actually bring something really true to the table that is full of hope and trust in the Lord. So yeah, it's good.
So beautiful. Wow. Let's talk about track 2.
Track 2.
Which I love how much these moments are steeped with history. This next song also carries a lot of history. Both I hear it in the musicianship of the players, like that you've been playing with for over a decade, some of them especially, and then also in the song itself. So this song is I Lose My Ability. Some of our listeners, some of the viewers have heard this song before, but never quite like this. Is there anything you would say about this specific song, and even where the bridge of this song that's featured on the album?
I mean, this song is old. I remember us writing this song on vacation in Maine with our kids, and they were little. I don't know how long ago that was, really long time ago. And
over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago. And we put it on the Live at Home album, you know, just as a more kind of folky, singer-songwriter-y.
And Live at Home was the first Cageless Birds album.
It was the first Cageless, like
8 years ago.
7 or 8 years ago. And it's just always held a real affectionate place in our heart. Like we've just, I lose my ability to be afraid. Like it is like the theme of our whole life. It threads into No Longer Slaves and Raise a Hallelujah. You know, it's like when you look at someone's body of work, you're like, oh, there's a theme here. Like, and we're like, yep, we're still writing that theme.
That's right.
But we were in the mountains this year.
Last January.
Last January,
a year ago.
So it would have been 2021. And we were working on some music, and we had the piano up there, and he was playing stuff, and I'm like, man, I just love I Lose My Ability. Like, I just love this song. And we hadn't really been talking about that song at all. And he started playing it, and I started singing it. And I was like, man, I just love this song. I would love to sing this song with you. Like, we could do a duet. And we started feeling really joyful. And when you're writing, it's not always a joyful situation, but sometimes it is. And just circling back to a song that is so precious to us, that we actually really, really love. And we don't really sing it that often, you know? And so we were just kind of sitting in it. And then, I don't remember if you went to another chord or something, but it was just a very easy kind of moment. We were just singing together and worshiping some. And then I started singing like Goodbye Fear and Goodbye Shame. And then Jonathan sang something. And then we just kind of started tagging. And I don't even know how many things we said. Like we collected some that landed. But it was like, we started feeling the energy of, and joy of like pinging back and forth. Like I'd sing something and be like, goodbye, da, and I'm like, goodbye, dad, and goodbye, hiding. And it was just like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, this is like this tag team, like, just left, right, you know, punch of just truth. And even the phrase goodbye, you know, is a major theme of how I've led worship for a really long time. It would thread even into We Make Space, you know, but to say goodbye and hello would be a really true theme for us. And so we had a lot of fun writing that bridge.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's always beautiful to come back to a song and then be like, oh, let's add something about where we are right now.
Yep.
And the bookend of that. Like,
Yeah.
we started it over 10 years ago and we
Yes.
finished it here. And that feels really amazing that
Wow.
like we were able to put something in it that felt more mature, but it also felt exactly like the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And musically, it just captures. It's so warm, and like the sounds of it, the lap
Yeah.
steel, and the band, the way they played on this song.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Just feels like North Carolina.
Very North Carolina.
And it has so much of our school. We talk about the power of the instead.
Yeah.
Graham Cook gave us that word years ago. It's one of our podcasts. But he talks about in Isaiah, beauty
Yeah.
instead of ashes,
Yeah.
joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead
Yeah.
of despair,
Yes.
a double portion instead of shame. And that's what the bridge is. It's
Yes.
goodbye these, but hello love, hello truth. I've been waiting
Yeah.
all my life for these types of
Yeah.
moments.
And
So-
it's just that kind of song where you sit in your voice a little differently.
Yeah.
Because it's just different.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
very, very North Carolinian.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
I love that theme of it being so conversational between the two of you, and where your journey with the Lord and worship together
Yeah.
has also become all the more conversational. And I feel like that really comes
Yeah.
across in the instrumentation.
Oh, yeah.
The
For
Luke
sure.
and Jake on guitars.
Yeah.
Let's watch a clip.
All
Okay.
right. Yes.
Goodbye fear and goodbye shame.
Goodbye, hopelessness and pain.
I have heard the Father call my name.
Goodbye, running. Goodbye, hiding.
Goodbye heaviness and lying.
The new has come, the old is washed away.
Hello joy and hello truth.
Hello, love, I've longed for you.
I waited for this moment all my days.
Hello, mercy, hello, peace.
You have found me on my knees.
I believe I'll never be the same.
When I see your face, everything changes in the radiance of your smile. Got this way of chasing away those shadows that hang around. When I see your face, everything changes.
Ah, so good.
I love that song. Well,
All the harmonies. So,
so
good.
many harmonies, so conversational.
I know,
Even
I
like
love
the
it.
way Molly's playing piano, I just
Yeah.
feel the history.
The whole
of the
band
band.
just like.
And the way the bridge goes back and forth, like
know, it's
it was,
so
we were like,
amazing.
how did we do that? Like
love
it just
it.
like, yeah, it was such a great songwriting moment.
Yeah.
Clearly, you guys know how to have a conversation musically.
Yeah.
And with that being said, this is like 45 minutes already into this podcast. So we're gonna pause here,
Yeah.
and we're gonna pick up We
a good
Make
idea.
Space and Father of Jesus in the next
Yep.
installment of this podcast, and talk more stories and the heart behind those songs.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
Thank you guys.